The time is just gone 8:25, 9:25 a.m. as we continue with the show, and it's time now to look at developments in Tunisia. And we have learned about the arrest of the former Prime Minister Hamadi Jebali, and this is after President Kais Saied has assumed total control, total authority in Tunisia. And the latest we hear about a referendum that has been submitted on for the and this is the first anniversary of the coup, and also talking about the new constitution that will not enshrine Islam as an official state religion. And we joined on the line by researcher Ebrahim Deen. Ibrahim, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Walaikum salam, and thanks for having me.
Yes, these developments, Ibrahim, in Tunisia are obviously interesting developments, but I'm not too sure whether they come as a surprise considering the authority that President Kais Saied has assumed. And also at the same time, just looking at this whole question surrounding Islam in the constitution not being enshrined as an official state religion in a country that has got a majority Muslim population.
Yeah, I mean, one is they're not a surprise. We've seen this move coming. Space said it has become increasingly authoritarian, suspending judges, controlling the media, and now arresting very big party officials. Even Yusuf Marzouki, for example, had traveled and issued on him a former president, very respectable human rights defender. So it's not a surprise. In relation to Islam and the constitution, there's two factors here that people look at when you're looking at how these countries and authoritarian countries appear. One is the rampant Islamophobia internationally and globally. And so the argument is that or the belief is that by saying things like this and excluding this line from the constitution, you'll be able to get international support. Even though you're authoritarian. We've seen this in many other countries. In Egypt, for example, eventually had to put the Islamic line. Two is, Tunisia is one of the most secular countries in the Middle East. It's it's the only country that celebrates the weekend on the Saturday and Sunday like normal. So it's very, very secular, and it's a move from Kais Saied in that appealing to the secular opposition. And we've also seen this in counter-revolutionary states where, the leftists and the secularists all join together because of this perceived fear of the Islamists. And, it's a political move, not necessarily bound in reality, but aimed at protecting authoritarian regime. And three, I think we need to know when we look at the Tunisian constitution, and I think that's the bigger point, is that the Tunisian constitution, or the previous constitution, or the current constitution until the next one gets passed in the authoritarian referendum, is one of the most progressive constitutions in the world, not just in the region. Very strong on gender rights, very strong on religious rights. And in actual fact, there's a line in the Tunisian constitution that prohibits sexualizing. You can't say someone is not a Muslim. And so there's no need for any change in the constitution. It protects freedom of religion, it protects gender, it protects a whole lot of issues that most other constitutions don't. And, that is actually a setback to the process. And, it shows how, the authoritarians aim to consolidate power by actually using the Islamophobia present globally and domestically to actually try and, position themselves in a way that would allow them to maintain support from these European countries.
Yes. Now, also, Ibrahim, I think what is interesting is to see how the Tunisian people react to this, because we are talking about a referendum, and when we're talking about separation of state and Islam in a largely majority Islamic country, and this is going to be quite interesting to see how the people of Tunisia react to this.
I think there's two pointers to that. One is that in these dictatorial countries, generally referendums pass. Because either the vote is manipulated or two, there's disillusionment. And we've seen this in Tunisia. There'll just be no one voting. And the people who vote would be yes. So, it's likely to pass, even though there may be this rumbling discontent, and this rumbling disagreement with the constitution itself. But two, I think, is the bigger issue in Tunisia, is the fact that this has got to do with the politics. And many are just concerned with living. The economics is the biggest problem in the country. And it seems as if that would either undermine or support the state. And currently, there is increasing disillusionment. There was a UGTT strike a few weeks ago, which paralyzed the whole country's economy. And basically, it's the economics that will make or break the regime. Now, it's very likely that referendum will pass. So we're looking more at turnout. If turnout is less, then we know there's a disillusionment with the political system. But also, as I said, in Tunisia, it is a very, one of the more secular countries in the Middle East. And so, there may actually be people that would support that excluding that line. Even though
Well, certainly, this is going to be quite an interesting development, and we definitely will be following the developments in that part of the world. And again, like when you're saying is authoritarian, and when we see what had happened in Egypt when Sisi had taken power and the removal of Mohamed Morsi, and possibly, it's along similar lines in Tunisia, Ibrahim.
Yes, and if you look at what Sisi did to gain support for the removal of Mohamed Morsi, the Brotherhood was declared a terrorist organization. Anything that had perceived Islamist linkings were declared terrorist organizations. And I think, that's the problem. The second problem is the fact that Said has support from Sisi, has support from the Emirates. So there's regional bloc. And three, I think, is and it's something that we need to look at more, is that religious institutions have backed some of these moves. And that's the problem. In Egypt, we had Al-Azhar backing the move to declare the Brotherhood a terrorist organization because it was in their Islamic ideological inclinations. And I think, that's something that needs to be looked at more seriously going forward, how these Muslim institutions are actually backing anti-Muslim moves. And so, it's actually, this Islamophobia is actually being fueled by Muslims.
Well, Ibrahim, very interesting observation. We definitely are going to be following developments, and I'm sure we will be linking up with you once again as we see, as we head closer to the referendum and see what the outcome is. But for now, we thank you. We say Jazakallah to you for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ebrahim Deen with us on the Tunisian developments. The time is just gone 9:33. We come back. We'll be joined by Hakan Kabus. We're talking about analyzing the Saudi-Turkish relations in light of the recent trip of MBS to Turkey, and we'll try and unpack what this actually means for both countries.